Hi, everybody. Winn Claybaugh here from Masters Podcast. And this is a very exciting day for me. And this is going to be one of those days where I get to sit back and listen and learn the same as all of you, because I'm sitting with two incredible people. Karlos K. He's an author, community engaged scholar who shares insight into the history of race and racism to not only encourage hard conversations, but to empower and uplift communities who are seeking and creating lasting change. Dr. Hill serves as chair and associate professor of the Clara Luper Department of African and African American Studies at the University of Oklahoma. I'm also here with a good friend, NeCole Cumberlander, who has been in the beauty industry for almost 30 years as a salon owner and a school owner, and past president of the Professional Beauty Association. She is also passionate about serving in ministry at the Word Church, being a wife of 30 years and being a loving mother as well. But NeCole, you are incredible to be joining us today. And I know that you have a wonderful message and question for Dr. Hill.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Winn. I'm so excited to be here. And Dr. Hill, I am just honored and excited to hear what you have to say. I'm so intrigued by your work and what you've done and what you've brought to us. And what led you to become an educator? And what exactly do you want for your students to take away from your work as an educator?
Thank you for that wonderful question. I'm so excited to try to answer it and help the audience understand kind of my backstory and why bearing witness to America's survivors, America's victims of racism and racial oppression. My witness is to tell their stories and to convince Americans, Black, white, and otherwise, to care about those stories. But where the story starts for me is with my parents. My parents were educators. My parents instilled in me a deep belief that education could transform my life. And I really, as a child, believed that. And, after, my middle school years, I decided to try to, without my parents encouraging me, but my parents instilled in me a love for education, a love for knowledge. They are both teachers. And so I got that as a child. And so by the time I was middle school, high school, I was a really highly motivated high school student and decided to apply to the Louisiana School for Math, Science, and the Arts. And fortunate for me, got into that school, which is a 2-year public residential college prep academy. I know that's a mouthful, in Natchitoches, Louisiana, but I spent 2 years there, 11th and 12th grade. And that profoundly shaped who I would ultimately become, a history professor. I met some of the best history professors that really helped me to inspire me to understand history in an in-depth way, in a holistic way, not a memorization or rote memorization way, but to really understand what happened, why it happened, and be able to explain it clearly and compellingly. That came from my time at the Louisiana School. And, I've never been the same since. And so went off to college and had the very best mentors, James Brewer Stewart, Peter Ratcliffe, Mahmoud El-Kadi. Went off to graduate school, had amazing instructors, mentors, Sundiata Chajua, Dave Roediger, James Barrett, Clarence Lang. The list goes on, Adrian Burgos, but had great mentors there that propelled me to be in the position I am right now, which is, Regents Professor and Chair of the Clara Luper Department. My goal for students is for them to care. I want them to understand history. I want them to understand how we got here. I want them to understand how their story is connected to the histories that I talk about, the history of lynching and racial violence. But none of that matters if they don't care about the history. None of that matters if they only care about the history and not the people impacted by the history. And so what I try to seize on as an educator, as a faculty member who's deeply engaged in justice work, whether it's in Oklahoma or otherwise, is all of these issues that we talk about in our society really come down to what is our relationship with them and how much or how little do we care? Because people who care get activated and they change the world for good or for bad.
Oh my gosh.
Amen. Yes. Yes.
People who care change the world for good or for bad. And so the fight is about the people who care. The people who don't care, the people who are indifferent don't matter. It's the people who care that we have to change, that we have to adapt, right? And so I live in that space where I'm trying to get people to care, not just about Black history, but about themselves in relationship to Black history, whether you're Black or white.
This is going to be an incredible master's issue. Thank you so much to Dr. Hill, also to my good friend NeCole for helping with this. Everybody, you're going to love this interview. Please tune in and tell everybody about this. Thanks, everybody.